Good evening, guys, and happy Saturday to all of your sunshiny faces. I was up so early today, guys. I thought it was like Sunday already, even though it is actually technically 1 o'clock in the morning, so it is Sunday, but I felt like earlier today was like a whole different day because I've been up since like 8 o'clock this morning because we ended up, well, we're going to wind up not going to the grocery stores. We were going to go to Menards to try and get a bark collar for the dog, like a spray bark collar, because we didn't want to get them like a shot kind, and we've tried one kind of beeping one, and although it startles Bravo maybe a little bit, it doesn't really seem to have an effect almost at all on Charlie. And like Bravo still seems like he sort of barks through it sometimes. Charlie literally is not fazed by it at all. So, but both of them work. We bought one online for Bliss, and then we also bought one online for Charlie. And yeah, I'm talking about you. He's in here right now. He's like, what? Because it's like a small dog size one. Bliss's is really big. And it's like a big, you know, so like around his tiny little neck. I'm talking about you, yeah. Do you have a problem with something? Are you offended by what I said? I just said Charlie needs a bark collar. Do you guys even see him right now? He's just staring at me like I've said something clearly wrong. He's like, I can't believe you're spreading lies about me. I don't need a bark collar. But no, like yesterday when my aunt was over, like he was actually pretty much okay with her when he was out in the house. But like, you know, it's weird when they're sort of all the dogs are together, they'll get a little like, you know, like just bark and stuff like that, and not like mean or aggressive or anything like that, but just sort of like bark because like a stranger's in my house and they're trying to like alert us to that fact, you know, sort of like bark a little bit, and it gets really annoying. So I had Bliss and Bravo locked in my room, and they were pretty quiet for like the most part, and Charlie was totally fine out in the rest of the house with my aunt. And then today we ended up also letting Bliss, like, you know, because we're like, she was here like I said yesterday, and you know, again today, so we were like, let's try and like slowly introduce the dogs to her, since we knew she was going to be here like on back-to-back days, and we were like, and we can again like not completely overwhelm them by being like, okay, here in this couple hours that she's here, like let's try and get all the dogs like acquainted with her and, you know, normalize, you know, somebody else sort of being in our house and stuff like that. And so, you know, like I said, it's tough with 3 dogs. So we just did Charlie, and she like, you know, gave him some cookies, came down to his level, and he was totally chill about it. Like he even jumped up in her lap, was like totally fine. And then like I said, today Bliss was, you know, actually like, if she got up, Bliss was sort of like watching her, like, where are you going sort of thing, like what are you gonna do? And but she also was associating her with having cookies also, because she was again like feeding them, you know, like petting her and stuff like that. And Bliss ended up like, when my aunt left, Bliss was like all concerned, like, and sniffing her hands and stuff like that, because she thought that she had cookies more cookies that she ended up leaving with. So like was very, like I said, like concerned about like where she was going and stuff like that, which is sort of cute. But we didn't really like get Bravo entirely like introduced to her yet, but he was actually doing better while the other 2 dogs were out, like sort of roaming around a little bit. We had him locked in the hallway, and she was in the kitchen, so like he could see her and stuff like that, and was sort of like okay with the fact that again somebody else is in my house, like wasn't barking. Compared to like last night, it was way better, I feel like. You know, and it's not like constantly, but like every once in a while, again, like it's the same too with Matthew's girlfriend. Like if she like is sitting down, all the dogs are totally fine. It's like when she gets up and like moves around and stuff like that, then all of a sudden they have this weird problem. Like I don't really know what it is, but it's like if she's like sitting down on the couch with Matthew or something like that, and like, or we're all in the living room like watching a movie or something like that, like they'll normally be totally fine. Like, you know, Charlie will just come over and sniff her and stuff like that, you know, and, you know, sort of make sure that like she's still just like hanging around or whatever. But I think it's sort of like that, like when all of them are together all at the same time, like then also too they rile each other up sometimes. So if like one dog starts barking because, you know, she like sat up, than another dog does. I think it's just, especially with the little ones, they get startled easily. So like sudden movements, I think sometimes also freak them out, and they're like, whoa, like don't just stay where you are, sort of thing, you know. And so I feel bad for them, but you know, at the same time too, we need to like not explain, but you know, sort of like train them that like, no, like they're not going to come and try and hurt you. Like she just wants to get up and, you know, go and get something to drink from the kitchen or whatever, like that sort of thing. So like I said, they'll get like startled right away and sort of like bark, and then they'll like be calm again. So it's not like a like consistent thing, you know, where like the whole time she's in the house, they're just, you know, won't be quiet. Like I said, by like the end of today, it was like we were all starting to sort of break them in. But what we ended up having, like I said, we got 2 bark collars. One was for Charlie that doesn't work. Have tried everything, literally everything. Like I tried all of the like other people's like suggested, like people, because we've got it on Amazon. And okay, so funny thing. So we go to, like I said, I looked at Menards online. All they had was in the store, at our store, all they had was the shock collars. And we wanted to get citronella ones. So we ended up going then to Petco because we called ahead to make sure like that they had some. And they were like, yeah, we have ones for small dogs. We go there, it is the exact same one that we have currently for Charlie that's not working, but we bought it on Amazon. I want to say my mom bought it sometime during the summer, like maybe July, maybe June, maybe it was even earlier than that. But like at some point. So we've had it for like a while. Tried it, and we were like, oh, maybe we're just like not reading the directions like properly or whatever. Like I said, I've read the directions cover to cover like 4 times. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I read, again, even like the online stuff, and then I was reading like people's reviews and stuff like that, people that were like, oh, you know, I couldn't get it to work but then figured this out, or you know, whatever. Like I was trying to go through all of those type of things too, like could it just be like, and like I'm like, is it not tight enough? And then there's some people that were like, it's accidentally going off. I was like, ours isn't going off at all. So again, we go to Petco only to find out they have the exact same brand, exact same model as the one that we already have, that we're like, it doesn't work. I don't know if at this point we can really return it, because we'd also, like, it was a whole thing. My mom got this other one first, but it wasn't an automatic one. It had a remote. And the problem is that like, if we're not here and he's barking, how do we get him to stop? If we like weren't here, or we weren't in the house, like we're in the backyard or something like that, and again, he's like, you know, we have to wind up using it or something like that, like it can't just go off automatically, and it's sort of a pain too. We have to like constantly have the remote, you know, to be able to constantly spray him if we have to, if he is barking, you know, because again, sometimes he'll get freaked out from something else in the house, and it's like, no, like don't, you know, like even just like somebody opens the door sometimes, and like, and it's so weird. Sometimes he will be totally fine and like sleep through it, or be totally fine, like, you know, distracted by something else, or just be totally fine laying there. Other times he wants nothing to do with the fact that somebody else in the house went into another room or went and did something, or, you know, something like that. And it's all of the dogs. I don't know why. But like, you know, like I don't know if they think like it's an intruder or something like that. Like even though like nobody came into our house, they just went from a room to a different room, and sometimes they just like don't recognize the person. I don't know. Like I said, weirdly enough, they will randomly sometimes like bark. So it's like we have to constantly have the remote near us. Like it just seemed like a pain. So like, you know, again, if we aren't here, how does that wind up working? Or even too, like we're in the backyard and the dog's barking, like does it even reach that far? Can we even do it through other walls in the house and stuff like that? So again, it just, we wanted to get one that was automatic, especially for Charlie. Bliss and Bravo seem like they're okay. Like, you know, again, not really needing to have one also like a lot of the time. And I feel like too, sometimes if I can get Charlie to stop barking, Bravo normally doesn't initiate the barking. It seems like it's sort of Charlie is the ringleader, and Bliss too. So like, you know, but again, we have the remote one for Bliss, so I feel like if we can just curb her to not bark, like, and she only normally barks like the mailman is at the door, you know, like normal sort of dog stuff, I feel like. you know, and so like she'll bark at like about those type of things. But again, we wound up not being able to get this one to work for Charlie. Weren't gonna buy the exact same kind that we've had not very good luck with. So I got the remote one out, which was the one we bought first, and we didn't get that one working yet because we couldn't find, I don't think it actually came with a charger. We had to find the correct charger to actually charge the thing, which was, again, we were like, okay, well, we have to wait for that. And then I was like, and this one's too big anyway, we have to get a different one for Charlie. So then by that time, and we had finally got both of them to start working, I was like, well, let's do Bliss and Charlie at the same time. And then I tried it, and like I said, it wasn't working. I was like, well, let me try and use Bliss's, and again, didn't wind up having the charger. Then that's when we figured that out. So then we wound up having to wait till we got a charger for hers. So we did, we got it charged up, hers, and I hadn't tried to use it yet. I used it today, and she was like an angel around my aunt today, and like about everything too. And I feel like she is really like not like scared of barking, because too, like normally that's her way of like letting us know that she has to go outside. Like she'll normally like bark at us, sort of, not like, more like a playful sort of like come on guys, like I need to go out, you know, sort of thing. Like definitely not like a mean, aggressive, or like, you know, like anything like that. It's like a playful sort of bark, and it's normally like, you know, again, you realize your dog's different barks, especially too, and that's her I need to go outside. So like she wasn't scared to, or wasn't like, again, it was curbing her barking, but wasn't preventing her from knowing like, you just don't bark at this thing. You don't bark when somebody comes over. You don't bark, you know, like when somebody's knocking at the door. You don't, you know, which is like, I wouldn't mind that sometimes, just because like if it is a stranger, we don't know the person, you know, like they're not supposed to be here. Like I obviously like want that protection of my dog's barking sort of thing, but like if it is somebody that we know, like that's why I also want to train them to like learn like, no, it's okay, thank you, stop, you know, and then, you know, like if she's not, then use the collar or whatever, like, you know, to that point sort of. But the thing was is that it goes off. The citronella, it has 2 different functions on it, hers, which is really cool. It has a spray and beeping function, and just a beeping function. And so if they were like in the hallway together or something like that, and one of the dogs barked, I would just have the beep go off, because it would get all of them to be quiet, because they didn't like the beeping sound. And so it would, like I said, curb all of them at the same time. And if she was the one that was barking, then I would use the spray and beeping, because a lot of times if she's barking, again, it's all of them anyway. So like I said, it was like curbing also her like barking, because she was getting sprayed with the citronella, and the other dogs are smelling it too, and they're like, we don't like this smell, you know. They weren't getting it the exact same she was. They also, I don't think, liked it either. So yeah, like I said, that actually ended up working today, and I was like so excited about this, because it has been sort of one of the struggles, I feel like, a little bit, because we haven't been able to like have people over that often, because we're like, oh my gosh, the dogs just won't stop barking. Like they know other people are in the house or whatever, like we're having a party or something like that, like they just won't be quiet. And so like today it was just so refreshing to actually like, and again, one-on-one person sort of thing is like okay, like a whole group of people at a party or something like that, I think is way too much to introduce them to right now at one time. And two, our house is not very big. Like if we had like 5 or 6 people in the kitchen alone, and we have 2 little dogs, they'll wind up getting stepped on. So like, you know, we would lock them away for parties, but then they'll bark because they know that people are in their house that they don't know, and they're concerned about us in the house with these people that they don't know, you know. And so it's just like, we need to curb some of that, and it worked really well today, which I was very excited about. Like it was a good positive, I feel like, in sort of putting that forward and everything like that. And again, like they weren't barking really about hardly anything. Like they weren't, you know, like again, mailman came today, they were all quiet. I was like, that's crazy, like in one day and they're already not barking at the mailman. And so yeah, I was, like I said, overwhelmingly positive today about what was going on with them. And like I said, we'll keep working on it. But it did say, it was like within about 2 weeks, you should be able to, you know, like your dog should learn the behavior of like, you don't bark at this thing, you don't bark at that thing. Like, you know, if somebody comes over, don't bark, you know, like that kind of stuff, as long as you're training them. So with her, I feel like the bark collar with the automatic, or not automatic, but the remote, I think that she'll learn it and then be okay. I'm, like I said, more concerned about Charlie just because I think he's getting it from Bliss's. We can put hers on him, which I did for a little while too. But again, like I feel like it's helping to correct the behavior, and then we won't have to worry about that. And maybe he won't even need an automatic one, but it's like I said, for me, it's more, he has like separation anxiety too when we wind up leaving the house. Like, so he doesn't want to be left alone, and sometimes he'll wind up barking. And so I feel like, again, that's like one of those, like, if we're not going to be here, what are we supposed to do? We can't just like bring the remote with us and just, you know, randomly spray it when we think he's barking, you know, and it's not even going to reach that far. So it's like, there's no point in it. So like I said, that's a tough one, and that's why we want to buy one that is an automatic, so that at least if he's here by himself, then he won't. But again, if somebody, we can actually watch him and be like, hey, you're not supposed to bark, and then, you know, click the collar or whatever, and, you know, like I said, sort of like fix that behavior. But I was surprised that like they were already sort of catching on, like on the first day, like barkings, you know, at certain things that clearly you don't need to be barking at, you know, is not an okay thing. And so like I said, all getting into that, you know, kind of mindset, I think it started to sink in for them. Bravo was just wearing his, like I said, that one little one that he was sort of like not a fan of the beeping, but like all the other dogs, they don't seem fazed by that. They are very like concerned about this specific type of beeping that comes off of that other collar that we got, which was the cheaper variety too. It wasn't even this like name brand one that was also like at Petco, and that's the one that doesn't wind up working. And yet I see like these other reviews on Amazon for other ones that were cheaper than the one we ended up buying and wound up having a problem with. So I was like, that's really a bummer too, because like I said, I don't think that we can actually return it at this point, and I don't know what to do because I cannot get it for the life of me to work. And you know, like all the correct lights wind up coming on, and I think maybe I even mentioned this at some point too, but it's like the lights come on properly. At first I didn't know because I'd like beep a certain amount of time, or like the colors would flash a certain amount of times, but like there also is in different settings. I found another one that again is cheaper. It has pretty good reviews as well, and it has different settings and stuff like that that you can adjust, like the amount that you wind up spraying, or like the sensitivity level too, like all these different kinds of things that this one that we ended up buying doesn't have, and it doesn't seem like it works that much. And like I don't mind leaving the collar on them just while we're not here to use. And like, because some people say like, oh, sometimes it will go off if they're like drinking water, they sneeze or something like that, like the not super sensitive ones, like if it doesn't have like the 2-factor, so it like will basically vibrate because it can feel them barking, and it can also hear or like sense them barking, you know, in 2 sort of ways. But ones that don't have both of those things, which this one does, and that's why I'm like, that maybe it's one thing isn't working and that's why the whole unit isn't working or whatever. But some of the other ones don't wind up having that. Like I think the ones that is just the little beeper thing that Bravo and Charlie used to have, I think it's just from vibration. So what actually sort of stinks sometimes is that if the dog's scratching itself, it'll wind up pulling the collar and like sort of vibrate it anyway, so it'll wind up going off. So like that stinks. But like again, if it's just we only have it on when we're home alone, it's not really like curbing the behavior, it's just like not letting them bark while we're not here sort of thing. And so like, you know, again, it does stink for that because you don't want to train them like whenever you drink water you wind up getting sprayed or you sneeze or something like that. Like that stinks. But again, if they're not wearing it all the time, then it's not teaching them that. It's just like accidentally when we're not here. So like I said, technology is not perfect, obviously, and that's sort of the point. But it's like the expensiver ones that like are supposed to fix these problems and all this kind of stuff are the ones that seem like they don't work sometimes. And like we spent extra money on one that we thought was going to be really good and it doesn't work at all. Whereas again, some of the cheaper ones actually seem like they have sort of better reviews, weirdly enough. And so that's why I was like, I don't mind spending a little less money on something that's maybe a little cheaper, but at least will work while we're not here. So, and again, with the continuous training while we are here, maybe again curbing that so we don't have to deal with that. But yeah, it was really relaxing to again have the dog sort of just like among us while we're here, like entertaining somebody else was really cool. So anyways, yeah, I need to get in the shower and get to bed, guys, but we'll see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. If you guys are new, I'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.